So I'm out here in Limestone County, Texas, and there's this little spring here. This is a natural spring, and this is where the Parker family got their water. This is Parker Spring, and if you look just right over here, there is historic Fort Parker. Of course, the site of the abduction of Cynthia Ann Parker in the spring of 1836. Right here. A normal day. Happened early. A few of the men were out in the fields. A large contingent, Comanche, Kiowa, and their allies arrived, and all hell broke loose. Obviously, the fort has been rebuilt. I believe the lady said it was originally rebuilt in the 1930s and then again in the 1960s. You know, they just didn't have a chance. It was a handful of men versus well over 100 warriors. On a beautiful morning, much like today, their world came to a screeching halt. Cynthia Ann would end up marrying into the tribe, Peta Nakona. She would give birth to the great war chief, Quanah Parker. This is where it all began. This is where she was living when she was abducted at 9 years of age. You see the firing ports. Navasota River, very close. Not close enough for me to film, but it is pretty close. Stepping into the interior of the fort. This would be the blacksmith area. Well, you know it was hot in here in the summertime. It's your anvil. It gets hot in Texas, y'all. I can't imagine working out here in August. Take a look inside some of these cabins. These are supposed to be set up period accurate to 1836 living conditions. Your rifle above the hearth. You just imagine living here with a family. I can only assume the kids would have slept up in the loft. I believe my legs might hang off this bed a little bit. Nice table. Couple windows. Wish I knew enough about my period firearms that I'd be able to identify this rifle. Here's your powder horn. Assuming this could have been a shot pouch. Split palisade walls. The original palisade walls of Fort Parker were made of virgin cedar logs, split in half and placed about 2.5 feet deep on the ground, side by side, with the flat portion of the log facing inward, as you see in this section. These large palisades, supported by horizontal cross braces near the top by leaning palisades. You can see some of the leaning ones over there. Constituted a very stable wall due to the cost involved in obtaining large cedar logs such as the Fort Parker settlers probably used. Smaller unsplit cedar logs were used in construction of the wall of the fort replica. All right, there you have it. More firing ports. Oh, my dumb ass just walked into the women's bathroom. Guess next time I'll pay attention to the sign that says women. Guessing that one is not historically correct. Very elusive 1836 box fan. Pretty cool displays in this cabin. Lords of the Plains. Sorry for that noise. See, there's Quanah with one of his wives. Smoking that peace pipe. That would be John Parker. Wow. Never seen that photo before. Comanche style beadwork. The beadwork is so impressive to me. Or maybe those are quills. I'm actually not sure. I think those are tiny, tiny little beads. Cynthia Ann, of course. Lady that never really got to dictate her fate to the world. You know, she was stolen once here as a child, and she was stolen again, what, 34, 35 years later. Never really got to choose her own fate in life. Very tragic, tragic life this lady had. Let's see what else we got. We got a flat tire. cabin chimney. Men's restroom. I think we all know what that looks like. You know, I'm assuming, I'll just go ahead and assume for a moment that this actually is this is what it looked like in 1836. You know, they had a pretty good fort going on here. It's just they let their guard down. They grew complacent. It's been a while since I've researched this story, but I believe they had actually had a meeting with some Comanche leaders maybe a week or so prior, and they felt like they were safe. Tragically, they were not. How things would have been different if they were able to lock themselves inside here and put up a defense, I don't know. I don't know if the warriors would have just simply burned down the cabin or the walls. Or if maybe they could have killed a few of them, they would have dissuaded them enough to go on to the next target. Another tower up here, firing ports. Fort was originally built in 1833 or 34, I think, actually. Like I said, it's been a while since I've read up on this, but I believe the Parkers were from Illinois. I think they were part of the original 300 that came to Texas. John Parker's grave. John Parker, of course, was killed in the very short battle/massacre. Fought in the American Revolution. Wow. American Revolution, Texas Revolution, died at the hands of Comanches. Amazing. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Yeah, living in style on this one. Nice little bed. I could sleep in that. Candle holder. Boy, that made me paranoid as hell falling asleep with that candle that close to the wall. Another old rifle. Powder horn shot bag. There we go. Outdoor cooking area. I suspect in the summertime, you didn't want to do much cooking indoors if you didn't have to. Me personally, I am a big fan of air conditioning and shaved legs and soap and deodorant and toothpaste. I don't think I would have liked to have lived back in these days, but it is fascinating to think about. Huh. Oh, quill and ink. That's it. This is old Fort Parker. Wow. A lot of history right here, boy. A lot of history.